Okay. So first of all, I would like to wish the Ali community worldwide a very happy Sir Syed Day on the behalf of all SSGSA family. May we all strive to work towards the ideals that he envisions. So the foundation of SSGSA was done in 2006 by Dr. Shaida Andrabi, Dr. Rehan Bakri, Mr. Syed Ali Rizvi, and Dr. Saf Sheikh. It was one of the first alumni initiatives to financially help AMU students for grad school applications. In 2020, we conducted our first SSGSA convention, in which Nobel laureate Professor Abhijit Banerjee delivered the keynote lecture. Our donors and contributors include IMRC, Alumni Association of Greater Chicago, Texas, and Greater Atlanta, and many other individual donors, which include the past beneficiaries. So, what exactly SSGSA do? We mentor and financially support AMU students for graduate school applications. We regularly organize webinars on necessary skills for grad applications, the recordings of which are available on YouTube, which you can easily access. And we also run an active online study group of AMU students for GRE preparation. As of now, around 140 beneficiaries have got admission offers from the grad programs across 22 countries, which is quite a milestone. You all can sign up for our newsletter to get useful tips from our successful awardees. So the basic objective of the SSGSA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division is to promote the idea of diversity of people and perspectives in SSGSA, ensure fair treatment, accessibility, and equal opportunities for everyone associated with SSGSA, and finally, to build a welcoming and inclusive organization that supports and embraces differences and offers respect to literally everyone. The agenda for today is to get to know the additional barriers a female student faces in realizing her dreams of studying abroad, initiate building an active community of female students or alumni from AMU for helping each other in achieving professional goals, and finally, encourage broader participation of female awardees in the SSGSA organizational activities. Our panelists for today are Tayyiba, who is doing her master's in data science from New York University. She completed her BTech in electrical engineering from Aligarh Muslim University. Mariam Abbas, who is doing her PhD in behavioral science from University of Rhode Island. She completed her master's in psychology from AMU. Rabia Umar, who is doing her PhD in physics from Indiana University, and she completed her master's in physics from AMU. Finally, last but not the least, Ifra Ilyas, who is doing her PhD in chemistry from the University of Oregon after completing her MTech in nanotechnology from AMU. So thank you, Tayyiba, Mariam, Rabia, and Ifra for joining us today. I welcome all of you here. So before getting started with the discussion for today, I'll request the audience, if you have any doubt or any question, you can just type it in the chat and we'll try to address as many questions towards the end of the discussion. Thank you very much. So, Ifra, I'll like to start the discussion with you. Can you tell us about your experience in applying for the grad schools? What was the process like? Like, more importantly, how did you build a competitive profile?
Thank you, Sadia P. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So when we talk about applying to grad school, the first thing that comes to mind is how to plan and where to begin. So I wouldn't say that I was perfect at it, but I did have a lot of time to work on this. So the most important aspect of my grad school application process was planning. And it starts from shortlisting universities based on my profile, based on my grades, based on my TOEFL scores, whether or not I meet the minimum GRE requirements, and so on. And then once I shortlisted the universities, it was then about keeping a track of the deadlines, whether I was in time, I was applying on time. And next, I have the deadlines. I know which school I'm going to apply to. Now, do I have the resources? Do I have funds to apply to those schools? So I went ahead to request application fee waivers from the school. So my goal was to not spend a lot of money from my own pocket. And because coming from India or as international students, paying fee in US dollars is not easy. Although SSGSA is supporting students and was supporting me for 5 applications, I wanted to apply to like more than 10 schools. So I requested application fee waivers and I got many of them, which helped me in applying to more schools, more than 5 schools. And then cold emailing to professors while maintaining professionalism. And so yeah, and I also had my letters drafted, which were reviewed plenty of times by my mentors, which helped my application stand out. I kept a track of my letters of recommendation and made sure that they were sent on time. And what else? And then finally, I made an Excel sheet to keep a track of all my applications, whether I submitted them on time, whether the LOR has been submitted, whether there's any other extra requirement from the university that has been fulfilled or not. So that kind of really helped me. That was the process about applying to grad school. And how did I build a competitive profile? So it started with building my grades during my undergrad, my master's, and I wouldn't say I was fortunate, but I would say I really worked hard enough to make sure that I was scoring well in grad school, in my undergrads, as well as master's programs in India. To build my research profile, I made sure that I did quite a few internships, worked hard towards them. Of course, I was not lucky that I got them. So I didn't know back then that I would be applying to a PhD program in the US, but those helped me a lot when I did. So the research experiences, various internships programs, especially the respectable ones at the Indian Institute of Science Education Research. I got an Indian Academy of Sciences summer research fellowship program. And then I acquired significant research skills, which went on my CV, and that kind of drew attention to my profile. Besides the academic stuff, I also maintained a good social media presence. When I say social media, I don't mean Instagram, but LinkedIn. That's more of a professional social media handle where you can get to network with people across academia, industries, and you get a sense of you get to, connect with people. And I think that also helped me in building networks across the United States, Europe, and got to speak with a lot of grad students, even professors. So while applying, that helped me a lot. Now, finally, a bit of extracurricular and co-curricular activities while maintaining a balance between the academics and all of these. I did a bit of it. So I've also volunteered as a newsletter associate editor, which has helped my writing skills. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, thank you so much. If anybody has questions. Yeah.
For such an elaborate answer, thank you very much. So anyone from the panelists would like to add? Rabia, maybe? Would you like to add something to it?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I think Ifra pretty much summed it up pretty well from like the beginning until the very end. But if I was to add something, in terms of building your profile, I think I was one of those unlucky ones that I did not get the opportunity to be selected in any internship or anything. And I think the whole process of building a profile starts from you realizing that, you want to do something and towards the entire dedication of achieving that goal. So once you realize that, then you have to see where your profile is actually lacking. Because for me, when I was trying to, build up a profile and I was applying for grad school, for some reason my preference went for having a good record of extracurricular activities, and then I realized in the process of application that that did not really contribute as much as having a good academic profile. So when you know which sides are more important to the program that you're applying to, that really helps, because maybe there are programs where your extracurricular involvement matters more than your academic involvement, or there are different I would say modules that you need to fill depending on the program that you're applying for. So it's important that when you're building a profile or planning this whole application process, you realize what your goal is and which program you're trying to apply, and you need to know what that program demands. So I think that is what I would add to Ifra's very elaborate and extensive answer.
Yeah, I'll agree with both of you. And it's eventually about striving and dedication. So if you know what you want to do, you will be there. So yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on to the next question. Uh, so maybe Mariam this time. So Mariam, what was adjusting to a new place like? Like you, all of you like recently moved, except for Rabia. You, all three of you recently moved to a new country. So what was it adjusting to a new place like? What were the key challenges for you?
Uh, to be honest, it was not easy. I mean, I'm still like adjusting here, and it was challenging because I've never been outside India before. So this was my first trip, and I mean, the culture here, food, and also the time management, everything. Like my first 2 weeks were like I was juggling with so many things at a time, because like when you are outside your country, you don't know many people. You have to like look after everything on your own. It takes time, and everything, it was entirely new for me, like getting my social security number, opening my new bank account, getting a new US number. Every bit of it was like kind of challenging for me. And then I was having that bad jet lag. So like uh, managing the time zone difference and everything, it was too much overwhelming initially. So but I was fortunate that I have one of my mentors like 1 hour away, and also the other SSGSA members were there. And I remember like the day I came here, it was I like had a rough journey coming here. So when I reached here at Rhode Island, it was too late at night, and I was scared of the setup. And one of the SSGSA member, or who like I got connected with, they actually I was crying on phone that I think I've made a mistake coming here. It's too much, too exhausting, and everything. Like I was crying literally whole night. It was 3 a.m. So, but like. They are very good people. The SSGSA people, they helped me, they motivated me all those, my first 2 weeks, and now here I'm sitting, like I feel a bit relaxed. But yeah, it took a great deal of time for me to adjust, and I'm still adjusting. But the key challenges were for me food, time management, and yes, the cultural shock that I faced. So yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Like whenever we move out of a pampered space, in our home countries, we're very much pampered. It's not like we have to do all the stuff. So yeah, when we move outside, थोड़ा तो रहता है कि हाँ नई जगह है नए लोग हैं and it's just the new culture. Like moving in the same country is a different thing, but moving to a whole new country abroad with a very different set of cultures, a very different set of people, different language, it's really difficult. So I agree. What about you, Tayyaba?
I totally second Rabi on that. Spent 4.5 hours yesterday to get the social security number. So, I mean, yeah, it's difficult. I guess I'll put it down in like a few composite points. Firstly, like when we move to a new place, it brings like a lot of new people. So, like she mentioned, cultural shocks. I guess it's people are different, they have different ideas. And one thing that at least my university taught me on the first day of us of our orientation was that it's not about right or wrong, it's about it being different, whether people are different with their physical touch or with the way they speak. So I guess it was like understanding how people here behave at every different professional or personal thing, and that took a lot of time. So yes, I guess language barriers have also been like very common for like a lot of us international students. Things like you need to like learn the rudimentary phrases which people speak around here, the slangs, everything. And I guess it's like when you go to a restaurant, you don't know what they're talking about. You don't, I guess, like going to a restaurant and knowing that you have to tip on every single thing, even if it was not that good. I mean, that was new, but I guess I learned it the hard way then. And I guess the second, but the most important point for me was to know where to buy things from and for every single small or big thing. So going to different stores, trying out different things, and also asking people around, like, what are the best stores to buy, maybe furniture or like a wholesale stuff. So, like, discovering Walmart, Costco, Target, everything. That was also one of the challenging aspects, but I'm really glad that we do have stores around also here that can help us like plan our budget and everything. And in accordance to the same, like in India, most of the things our parents are helping us with it. So here, with power comes great responsibility, so with freedom also comes great responsibility. So it was like you have to make decisions for yourself whether you want to attend this social outing or not, whether you want to cook this or not, because I mean, you have to plan your studying times and then cooking times and all of that together. And also, like when you're living alone without your parents, you're the one who's taking care of like the shower that is not working, or your kitchen appliances that are not working. So, like calling the maintenance people like 10 times a day and then making it work somehow. So, I mean, yeah, to put it down, a few things like these, I think that was like very challenging, but all of us do navigate through it. That's it from my end.
Yeah,
Mm.
basically adulting in a nutshell. That's what adulting is. We all learn the hard way or the easy way, but we learn at the end of the day. So yeah, okay, moving on to the next question. So just a moment. Okay, tell us a bit about your field of work. Are there any women role models in this field that you look up to? Someone that you will recommend the young girls to read, like their works or something like that. So maybe we can start with Rabia this time.
Um, I am studying physics right now. I'm a grad student, physics grad student. What my research basically entails is that it circles around study of particle physics, where I'm trying to study a little bit about the most elementary units that make up our world. And we're trying to think of how this universe came about to be. And that was really the most attractive thing about this research area. I really was kind of moved almost when I learned about how the Big Bang theory was actually got its various theoretical features and all of that. So I thought that I should know a little bit more about it, but just because uh, you read so much about it and you want to know how and why these things happen, why this universe actually formed the way that it did. So I don't know how detailed I can go into it because I wouldn't know. I mean, for me myself, it's difficult to understand what everybody in my field is doing. So I don't think that it would be wise enough to go too much into the detail of my research. But um, if I was to say if there is any female uh, scientist that inspires me, honestly speaking, there are a lot of female scientists in physics, but you don't really get to hear about them. And I am one of those unlucky ones that didn't get the opportunity to hear about them, except for like maybe Marie Curie, because we learned so much about radioactive decays and everything. So that name naturally pops up because she did such a monumental discovery in that particular area. But in terms of my research field, particularly, I don't really have a female scientist that I can say that I look up to, but honestly, I don't think that would deter me from wanting to do what I want to do. I don't think that you should restrict yourself uh, to a role model. If you want to achieve something, maybe you can be the role model. I don't know. I'm not saying that I want to be, but I'm just saying that that
I
there
mean,
are.
of course, you can be the role model. Of course, we are looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, eventually this comes down to a thing, in my opinion, is like women representation, although it's good enough now, but it's still not there yet. We are still not there
Yes,
yet. So we don't really know that many female scholars or female professionals to look up to at the end of
exactly.
the day, like in our specific
Exactly.
fields. So yeah, this needs to be like, I mean, it's basically more like, कि अभी इतना हुआ नहीं है, we're still not there, but we will be, inshallah, at some
Yes.
point of time.
And honestly speaking, I think one of the questions that does pop up every time is that you don't really have a lot of female representation in STEM field. Especially when I was, in particular, if I were to give an example, I had to give an English proficiency test because I had to teach here for a semester. And one of the questions that they did ask me was that if you had an inspiration in STEM field. And it's not that I don't have a role model. It's just that there's not much that you can know about them just because of the way that the time that these theories were developed. And I hope that there are more people coming into STEM field. I hope that there are more people who would indulge themselves in research, just because you may not be as good as the other scientists, but you could pave the way for others to become that. And I think that could be a very, I think, noble goal, but it's one that you should have. I mean, it doesn't really matter that you're a STEM enthusiast or not. You could be doing research in in any of the humanities field, but still have this goal that if it's not me that's going to be the role model, I should do enough that I can pave somebody else's way so that they can
Exactly.
become one.
Exactly. Like we should, if we are not the torchbearer, we can at least like help
Yes,
them, guide them
yes,
to achieve that
yes,
point.
yes.
Okay, maybe Ifra, you want to add more to this? What about you?
So with regards to having a role model, I totally agree with Rabia as to I don't feel that there's adequate representation of female scientists especially in India. And so I didn't really have someone working in chemistry that I could really look up to. But whenever I would hear about women scientists doing great in their fields, it would serve as an inspiration to me. And recently, the Nobel Prize winner for the chemistry was a female, Carolyn
Exactly.
Bertozzi.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives me hope that that we can make space for ourselves in academia. But when talking about a realistic role model in life, I would say my role model was my sister. That I always wanted to follow her footsteps. That's my answer to your question. And what I do in science, what I
Yes,
study.
exactly.
So I'll explain it in simple language so the non-chemistry people can understand. So the lab that I'm currently working in works on metal organic frameworks, which is a coordination, which is a polymer, highly structured material made of metals and organics. They're linked together and they make a highly structured and really beautiful crystal. And then what I'm going to be studying would be its optical and electrical properties to understand the novel behaviors that it exhibits, which has not been studied yet. And I won't go in detail about this, but why these materials are important, because first of all, they're not super expensive to make. And because of their high surface area and high porosity, you can use them for gas storage, gas purification, and the most important application being energy storage, as in hydrogen gas. And and other materials. And these could be further used for fuel cells, batteries, all of those energy sectors, which is currently highly demanded because of the climate crisis. So that's one of the goals, to study its novel properties and see how we can go about it.
That
That's
sound really
okay.
that sound really exciting, Ifra, especially since I come from chemistry. That's a very exciting field, so I agree. Anyway, moving on to Mariam, maybe you can tell us about your work and any role model that you look up to.
Um, my work, I'll start with that. Like, it is deeply enrooted in human behavior, something that we study in health psychology. So, like, right now, I'm working on smoking cessation, and my major focus is on health risk behavior and like what we can do to bring about certain changes in those behaviors which are not like good for us, and what we can do without the use of drugs and other implementation, like how much therapies are beneficial and what are the other ways in which we can bring about behavioral modification. And talking about role model, it is strange that even today, I mean, there are so many women studying psychology. They have outnumber men in this. But if we like look back in history, there are not much, much significant contribution made by the women scholars so far, because it was like the field itself was emerging, and I mean, there was a lot in this field which was required to discover, and women that time, like it was even difficult for them to get education. So there are very few contribution made by women so far in the field of psychology. So the one person like I like reading about, because like I don't have any specific model because of the scarcity of the work that women have contributed so far in psychology. But there is one person named Margaret Floy. She's like she was the first person to get PhD in psychology, and she was also the first person, I mean, the second person to serve as the president of American Psychological Association. So mainly the work that she has done on animal behavior and her work on motor theory. I mean, these work like really inspire me because it had like they were like the tenets from which this behavioral science like kind of evolved. So she's one such figure like like reading about. So I would recommend her for all those who like psychology.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Tayeba, tell us something about your work and any role model that you look up to.
Yes, thank you. So I am studying data science, and data science is like a perfect mix of statistics, probability, optimization, and obviously like machine learning. So like a lot of it involves us building machine learning models to like better predict stuff for like a variety of things in healthcare, social sciences, everything like that. And then it's also about testing hypotheses, performing experiments, and how would you test whether this experiment just happened by chance, like the outcome was by chance, or whether it had a underlying correlation. So yes, a lot of it involves around working with different kinds of data, image data, video data, textual data. I guess like every single kind of data, just to like make better predictions and see patterns, underlying patterns. So that's about my work. And I specifically like usually have a hard time thinking about like role models. I'm not sure why, but I would say I do follow a few content creators on Instagram, and I guess those are the people who I look up to. For instance, there's Sundar Khalid. She is a Pakistani Muslim, and she had a really hard time studying. So I guess like she studied after she got kids and stuff, and like then now she's working at Google. Her story is very inspiring. I do like to follow her and on Instagram and like see what she does. Similarly, there's also Hosanna, who is working at Microsoft. She's a Black woman in tech. And I guess like all of these women that I do follow, they come from like different backgrounds, and it's just inspiring to see what they do in their everyday life. I would say they are like the general role models for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically, it's all trickles down to again the scarcity of the diversity. So yeah, well, let's hope there are more role models for us in future. But although Taiba, your role models are really inspiring, like I would say. So anyway, moving on to the next question. Uh, so what were the key challenges that you faced as a female student or a professional, and how did you overcome them? Maybe Rabia, you can share your thoughts this time.
I think as a female, if I was to j- like point out the challenges that I faced as a female student, it's hard to know whether it was because I was a female student and I had those challenges, or they were just challenges that every other student had to face. And it's quite recent, so I have them fresh in my head. I think one of the most the biggest challenge that I had once I landed in US was, and it's not anything to do with my studies, it has to do with my accommodation, I believe, because as a female student, you want to be in a place which is secure and you're sure of your security. And when I came to Bloomington, the first thing I did was to see if it was a safe place or not, and all of those things. And unfortunately, I picked an accommodation which was not in the most safest area of Bloomington because it was a little far away from the campus. So trying to find a place which is closer to the campus in the way that it is generally more secure, in the sense that you're close to the campus, so you don't have to deal with a lot of the residents of the city, of the town, so as to speak, and you don't know how they are because everybody is different, and you don't know how they'll be behaving with you. And so my first, if I was to give a suggestion here, and if I may, I would say to all those who are coming here, just look at the areas which are more secure and try to find accommodation closer to the campus. That's one thing that I really, really wanted to put it out there, because it's very important to be in a place at home which is not only providing you a place to live, but also has like a provides you peace that you can stay with. But if I was to talk about my challenges that I faced as a student, I would say the first thing would be trying to navigate through my courseworks, because it is a little different of how the courses um, are designed in AMU as compared to how they're designed here. There's a ton of work to do when you come here. And I came in the month of October. Yes, in the month of October, because I had a bit of issue with my visa and flight tickets. So I came right in the middle of a semester where they were already going through mid terms and all of those kind of exams. And the level of I think problem sets that you get here is starkly different from how it is how you're tested in Aligarh Muslim University or in AMU or in India. I don't know about India in general, so I'm just going to stick to AMU. Here you are here the theory is taught in the class, but what is asked is the application of the theory. And unless you don't really understand the concept thoroughly, you're not going to be able to answer the problem sets. And initially, when I got the first homework set, I remember there was a week between each. There's a week between each homework set, and I, for some reason, underestimated the difficulty level of those problem sets, and I basically left it for the last day. And I realized that there is a reason why there is a week-long gap between the two sets, and the sooner you realize it, the better it is for you, because you do lose a lot of scores if you underestimate the difficulty level. When it comes to my research, because I came here in a PhD program, and I thought that I will come here and I'll be involved in research and I'll become this amazing research student, and I would know all these ins and outs of the things that I didn't understand earlier. But that's not how it goes. Your supervisor would probably give you some time to settle in, and that does create a bit of complacency within you, because when the work actually comes, which I'm hoping it will come for me, it hasn't come yet, but when the work actually comes, you're not ready for the amount of pressure that it would put on you. So when I first came in the the first couple of weeks, I was just waiting for the work to start, because I was like, okay, this is it, this is why I've come here, I'm going to do research. But you don't really get to do actual research until you're very well into the program. So I would say to all those who are coming, don't have your hopes too high when you're coming in research courses. There is a lot of formalities before you actually get into research. There is coursework, there is qualifiers, there's all of these other things that you need to tick off the list so that you can actually begin your research journey. And hopefully, but whatever experience that you are gaining, I would suggest, and what I've learned is that you need to, the time that you have, you need to use it in order for you to learn something new. For example, for me, I had to learn computational physics, which I had a bit of experience back at AMU, but I think here I spent, I think first few months learning in Pythons because I thought that I should. So I think in the beginning, if you have time, try to learn new things that would be essential for your research if you are coming in a research program.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to add to this. As a female student, it's always difficult for us in a way because we always have to find a safer place for us, first of all, as you mentioned. And it's more like there are some specific problems that only female students face, like given the kind of environment we come from India, basically relative societal pressure, like there you have some milestones to achieve before like going for a PhD program. Do you think, like, if was there anyone around in your circle who was not very encouraging, okay, discouraging you in a way, okay, don't go for a PhD program, it's so long, when will you get married, that big question? So did you encounter any of that?
Okay, I completely off-tracked my answer. Sorry. So I think yes, as in that sense, there were too many struggles and too many challenges. The biggest challenge for me would be to have my parents on board with the idea of me traveling outside of the country, living in the country for so long, and you never know when you're gonna. I mean, you can come back in every holiday, but I don't know if it's financially possible for you to come back every other summer break. So the biggest challenge was to have my parents on board, because I think once you have your, if you get a green flag from your parents, then you have that little bit of a confidence in you that, okay, I can do this. Even before you actually start the process of application, you cannot be super confident until you have your parents on board with you. And that was for me. I think
Exactly.
I wanted to apply before masters, in a master's program before I was actually enrolled in masters. But so I did not, honestly did not have the courage to even ask my parents, because I thought it was such a impossibility in the future, that I was like, I'm gonna waste all of my energy in a dream that is not going to come true, because my parents will never agree. But I don't know what happened. Hopefully something good, COVID happened. No, I'm so sorry. But
It's all right.
I think when I was in the final semester of my master's, I just was like, because I had a friend of mine who applied in SSGSA, and he was a really good student. So I had like two of these problems. One was with having my parents on board, two, whether I was even worthy of getting a scholarship. So these two went hand in hand. And what I did in 2020 was that I took a chance with SSGSA, and I thought that if I get a scholarship, then I can ask my parents and be like, I got a scholarship. I think you should let me go now. I think that's how most Indian kids try to have their parents on board. It's like they
True.
achieve something, and then they're like, okay, I'm good enough. So I think you should think about it. So that was how it was for me as well. My mother was very supportive, I believe. I think she was, uh, I don't know if she was very simple, because my parents are not very, they don't express everything so openly, neither do I. So it's kind of hard to read between the lines. But I think my sisters were pretty supportive in that sense. Nobody in my house actually, you could say that they were, oh my God, they were pushing me. I wouldn't say anybody was super like supportive in the sense that they would push me to achieve things, but they would just give me a reality check every now and then that it is subject to having a yes from the parents. And until you don't, and that yes comes very much late in the process. It comes when you actually got an admission. Then they actually start thinking about it. Okay, she's got an offer letter, so now it's real. Until then, they think that it's in her head, she can apply, but maybe she won't achieve it. It's all in the head until you actually have an offer letter in the hand and you go to your parents and say, here it is, do I have a
Yeah.
yes? And and that also takes a lot of convincing. Honestly, you have to build a lot of trust. You have to have your parents trust you in a way that you have to almost display your worth
Yeah,
to them.
I feel like it's more for the female students because there are some extra things that parents consider when it's like when it comes to maybe your brother or some male person in your family. They'll be like they won't ponder upon those thoughts. There won't be that many thought process like okay, they don't want really have like they will of course for sure want to have him safe, but then safety won't be really on the priority list like as for the female students. So and again there are many other things. So this is what I think maybe Ifra you can add something to this.
I think whatever Rabia said pretty much applies to me as well. So I won't go about talking, I won't talk about the academic challenges, but on the personal front, starting from my undergrads, I would say that I studied in an all women's college. I wouldn't say that it was in a good place to be, but I would say that at that time back in 2015, I felt like there were lack of opportunities and exposure if I compared myself with the male students in the same program. But it wasn't on the part of university, but also on myself that I did not try to find out my ways as an undergrad. And so I would say as an undergrad, I did not have any experience. That being said, because I was in an all women's environment, I did not just try to see beyond what lied beyond the women's college. Moving on to the social aspect of this. So what Rabia said, that even her parents, so yeah, even my parents were not too happy about me being admitted to PhD programs or me being selected for the SSGSA program. I still remember the day I got the email from SSGSA saying that I was shortlisted. And then after my interview, which went really well, and they were like, why do you need to do this? Like, can't you apply for a PhD program in India? Why do you want to go abroad? India has such good institutes like IITs and whatnot. Why do you want to go abroad? And even after getting like significant number of PhD offers from the US, I don't remember that my father congratulated me on either of them. I know they're super proud right now that I'm here in the US doing everything that I can, giving my best. But back then, he was not happy. And had it not been SSGSA supporting me financially, giving me the guidance that I needed to overcome the process of applying to the grad school, the challenges, overcoming those challenges, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now, because I did not have any resources back then. So, and next, I would say, also the social and the family expectations of getting married in time when you're still younger. That's another challenge that I am facing. So one of the biggest concerns my mom had was, if you go to the US, how are you going to get married in time? So look, all of your
The
sisters and
concern is
cousins.
always about how are we gonna find a suitable match for you? You're so overqualified that we won't find the right match for you. Or again, it's always the kind of emotional support that you need. It comes with time, but it's not always there. So yeah, we all have been there, done that kind of situation.
Right. But I know that they're super proud of me. right now. And
Yeah.
finally, talking about the safety aspect, I would say it follows whether I was in India, whether I'm in the US. I have to make sure that I don't stay out till late, whereas other people can, other genders can. I try to get home before it's dark or as it starts to get dark. And that means even though if I want to spend some time doing research in the lab, which is open 24/7, I still can't stay there because I don't feel safe walking down the street back home. Even though I live 10 minutes away, 10 minutes of walking distance from the campus,
Yeah,
I
you
still.
see, that's the thing what I'm talking about. Is the fear that has been in our head for so long that we just don't feel safe anywhere. Like I live in Finland, it's one of the safest countries. Like here, the thing is, Finns hide when they see you. So it's more like they're scared of us. But even then, at some point, I also feel, okay, I should rather go home now. It's kind of
Yeah.
getting late. So that kind of fear, which is because of our gender, I think, more specifically.
Yeah.
So
Yes, that's all.
okay. So Mariam, Tayeba, do you want to add anything to this, maybe? Or we can move to the next question.
I think they have like pretty much covered everything that like all of us are going through as a female student. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay. I'll move to the next question then. Sorry, I was muted. So what was the most distinguishing aspect of SSGSA mentorship for you? And in the same spirit, what improvements would you suggest? Maybe Tayeba, you can take on this question.
Yes, so there are several points to like mention, but like I'll keep it short and succinct, and I'm going to like highlight the very key points that made an impact in me coming here. So without a doubt, I would say that I genuinely got like the best mentors that I could ask for. And so firstly, like grad school applications are like very heavy on written documents. So as we all know, SOPs, LORs, everything. My mentors have like guided me through every single written document and have told me exactly the changes that I need to make for it to be perfect. I think that's very undersaid because I don't think everyone understands the importance of that. At least I didn't understand that much, but it's very important to have like the right kind of documents, the right words, the way you say it. So definitely that was one thing that I really like appreciated about the entire process, that I got help in that. And I still remember being on a call with Salman Bhai and Saeed sir, and we were like discussing the draft of my SOP. And that call definitely changed my perspective about how SOPs are written. So all in all, I think my mentors, even Salman Bhai, still helps me draft emails to professors for research assistantships and teaching assistantships. So I guess it's something that is like that you require even when you come to grad school until you learn writing very well. So yeah, I think I still needed that. Secondly, I guess we've all heard about the vast association network and how strong the network is, alhamdulillah. So when I got admitted to NYU, I was looking for RA and TA positions, and thankfully, like I managed to I spoke to Salman Bhai, and then he connected me with Mohsin Bhai, and then I managed to get connected to a professor in the med school at NYU, and right now, alhamdulillah, I'm working as a teaching assistant and a research assistant at his lab. I cannot thank SSTSA Network enough for this opportunity because obviously it's very important for international students to find paid positions. And like I said, SSTSA is definitely more about the connections that you make for like your lifelong term. So like I remember how for the smallest to the biggest things in my application and my journey of coming here, Salman Bhai was a call away for everything. And even when my parents were extremely worried, like our other panelists mentioned, I was fortunate enough that Rizvi sir could speak to my parents for a bit and assure them that I'll be fine here. And I guess those little things that help you maneuver and make it very much safe for you to come to this country, and also like for your parents to be like for your parents to be chill about it, that is like the most important part about it, because because like I don't have family here, not even distant relatives in the US, so I didn't have anyone to like think of, anyone to go to. um One of my mentors is also the guarantor for me for my apartment hunt, so I cannot thank enough at every different stage how much my mentors have helped me. And genuinely, for me, the best part was the connections that I have for a lifelong term. I guess it was like very important. It was like it was just very important to finally put everything all together. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was really nice. But just like that, I mean, do you want to suggest us some improvements, like something that we can do to make it more female student inclusive,
Um,
SSGSA, or something that we're lacking right now that we can improve on?
I don't think this is much of a improvement, but having like a woman mentor would also have like help significantly. So I guess that's like one thing that I would suggest, but obviously I don't think that's like a concrete improvement point. I guess we're well aware that we need more women mentors, but yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, we are trying for that. And actually, we also have a women's cell, if you're aware of it or not,
Yeah,
I'm not sure. So,
yeah.
like, we can always address any issue female related in that group. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, Mariam, do you want to add something else in this?
I mean, I like agree with each and every word that Tayyaba said. A good mentoring, like it, it makes significant changes in your approach. Not only, I'm not saying just your grad school application getting selected. I mean, my mentors, like there were good times, there were bad times, but they were constantly there. The words that they said to me, like I still apply them in my life because they were like life enriching. They motivated me. They like the way they were there for me. It was like it was kind of a better approach that I got to look at different aspects of life. I mean, COVID happened. There were 4 people who were sick with COVID at my home. All of our study went online. So there were so many things I was juggling back then. So my mentor were like they were constantly there, and with every word that they told me, it like inspired me to work a little harder, and that is how like I got a more direction and a more organized approach towards my grad school application and about my life itself. And like Tayyaba said, they helped. No, didn't stop like when you are done with all your application, everything. Like when I arrived here, the kind of local support I got from my SSGSA family, like Ali Rizvi sir, Rehan sir, and I mean, they were there for me on call. They like, when I reached here, I came to Boston first. So they already arranged some people to like pick me and bring me in here. Because like there was, like I told you, it was my journey was rough. I missed my connecting flight, but they were like constantly in touch with me on WhatsApp, on email, so that like they they don't leave you anytime. It's like SSGSA people are there with you, and that's something really like bring difference in your life, because like you have someone, even if you are in a foreign land, there are people who like who will be there for you, whom you like confide in. So I think this is the most distinguishing aspect about SSGSA. So like Tayyaba said it, it's like the kind of network and everything that SSGSA provide. I guess that's really make the difference in one's life. And if someone has support like that in their life, so it does make a difference. So I mean, one incident that I would like to share here, there was one application, like we literally played between with their time zone difference. My One of my mentors, Dr. Shujat Badr, like he because US is like behind and India is kind of like 9 hours ahead in time. So we literally like sat down 12 hours together, whole night work on one of my applications. And we like submitted on time. So this like this kind of dedication, like who does that? Every time, like all of my mentors, they were there for me. It was like it was not only my application, it always seemed that it was something there that they are working on. So this kind of support, like it's keep you motivated no matter how hard things get at time. But if you have a good support, it do I mean it makes difference in your life. So this is the most distinguishing aspect of SSGSA, and I've like never experienced something like this before.
Well, I agree with both of you. SSGSA is always there for the support, be it emotional, be it any sort of support. Uh, but again, every good thing needs to be improved. Like it's never a perfect kind of scenario. So, do you recommend any improvements, specifically for the female scholars?
I mean, as far as I have seen SSGSA work, it's like so meticulously done. So it's difficult to pinpoint any, like say any concrete improvements, because SSGSA is already doing a lot for women scholars. Like today we have this discussion. Earlier also we had seminars for women scholars. There is a good representation as well. But in terms of like grievances, there are like with females mostly, I'm like not generalizing, but it takes time for them to voice out certain concerns. If like they are not okay and they are not like able to, communicate certain things. So because there is this women's cell that you inform. So the one thing that like we can do is like have monthly surveys with, especially with female scholars, like are they like okay with the mentors? Is everything fine or not? Just take their input and like note it down. And if like SSGSA feel like that this particular like girl is or a women scholar is not up to the mark or something is not good with them, so like anonymously we can provide some support to them. So this will, if they are not okay with certain things, they at least have some people and some women scholar for them, like they know their concerns, and like we can sit all together and work it out. So I guess this is something we can do, uh, you know
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, Mariam. Thank you very much. Also, Ifra and Rabi, I think, do you want to add for the improvement part? Because I agree for the SSGSA, what role SSGSA played in your lives, I guess we all have the similar answers. So I think we can just touch on the improvement part. Do you think anything that we can do to improve the anything like for the women awardees?
Can I go first?
Sure.
Okay. I think as Tayyiba and Mariam said, that the response from the mentors is really good. One aspect in that I would want a little bit of improvement on, that I would like a little bit of improvement on, is just having a, a similar connection within the women scholars themselves. I think that I had a female mentor, Madhiapi was there for me. So I would just, call her up and ask her, these are the issues that I'm having with the application process, suppose, because I don't understand the technical aspect of it. And it may seem very trivial to some people, to other mentors, maybe because it's just so obvious to them. But for the new applicants, it may not be. And sometimes in the application process, you don't really understand what your doubt is. It's kind of hard to put it into words, the confusion that you have in your head. So, and I think that only for me particularly, I think I was able to kind of say it out loud to Madhihapi, just because I knew her from before and I had that frankness with her. So it would be nice to have obviously we would love to have a female mentor with every female applicant scholar, but given the ratio of male and to female in SSGSA, that is a problem, I understand. But it would be nice to have a very strong network within the female scholars of SSGSA, for example. And I know I don't really know how that would happen, like how we would realize that. But but we could think of ways to build a network that allows us to be super frank with one another, in the sense that I can say my problems to, let's say, Mariam or Tayyiba or Ifra I can, because I know her from before, but like Sadia, P, or somebody like that. So it would be nice to just build that sort of trust and frankness with one another, within the SSGSA scholars, female scholars.
Yeah, I agree with this. It's basically at this point of time, I would just like to input, although I totally agree with your suggestion. It's just that not all of us, like most of us, are busy with our work and everything. But again, SSGSA is more like a family. So feel free to reach out to any one of us or any time. I'm saying this not just to you, but all the female scholars, female students. If you are in any situation of doubt, or you want any kind of like clearance and you're not comfortable communicating it to the male scholars or male members, you can always reach out to us. There is women's cell for that matter. And again, you can always email us and we'll try to reach back to you as soon as we can. So yeah. Ifra, do you want to add something?
Yes. So we know that the ratio of female to male scholars is low as for now, and I don't see this as a. Um, I mean, SSGSA does try to involve as many female mentors that they can. Even Salman Bhai keeps sending us emails and encouraging us to participate and volunteer for the roles. So I would also like to encourage the past female scholars of SSGSA who are not currently actively volunteering to come forward and participate, because it's kind of our responsibility to give back, and without actually wanting to do this, there's no way SSGSA can make you, participate or can increase the women diversity in the team. So that is one thing. And also, I think if we make up mentorship teams in a way that every team, every group of three has one female mentor, that would kind of balance the perspectives that mentors have to give to the students, whether or not the mentees are females. So I think that is one thing that I would like to say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the last question, which I think I'll be asking to all of you. So let me just share. So how do you see yourself contributing back to the SSGSA? It's given as past scholars, you will be mentoring students for sure, but what more role do you think you can play in the organization? So maybe I can start with Tayyiba right this time.
Yes, so like I already mentioned, we need female mentors, and not just for the application, but also for other aspects after the application process, settling in everything. I guess as a mentor, that not just like mentors for the application process, I would like you said, love to be a more active member of the women's cell. And I think there are a lot of girls that do any reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I mean, we can probably have like a more concrete women's cell forum for like helping young girls who are not yet SSTSA scholars, but do look forward to it. And then we can take it from there. So yes, I guess I'm all in for this, and I'll let others speak.
Okay. What about you, Rabia? Do you think, is there any other way that you want to contribute to SSGSA instead of like not just being the mentor, but some other way giving back to the organization?
I would love to be the part of the women's cell. I don't know what I don't know how that functions, but I would love to be involved in expanding the women's cells, almost like Tayyiba said. And besides that, I would be up for. I would say yes to anything that SGSA asks me to, and I'm able to do. I would like to give it back because I realized that how much of my like me being here is because of SGSA. So that thing does stay with me, and I would want to give it back in whatever capacity I'm asked to. I'm not very creative in the sense that I can think of ideas how to contribute, but I would love to give back in whatever way that I can.
Okay. Well, Ifra and Mariam, you both are at the moment associated with the promotions team and the outreach team. So you both are already doing, but again, it's never enough because as we know, there is still the lack of diversity. There is still a lack of women representation. So we should really work hard and get associated with the outreach team because I am there. So I would highly appreciate few extra pair of helping hands for sure. Anyway, thank you very much, all of you. It was a really nice session. Now maybe we can move on to the questions from the audience. I would ask Tahir to read out maybe the first three questions because we are beyond our time limits. So maybe Tahir, you can take over. Can you read the first three questions that you think are good enough to be asked, and we can continue?
Yes. So this question is from Sabah Sarwar. How to apply to scholarships and fellowships? Like many universities requires students to apply for funding before the application process. I'm struggling in this funding process. And there are a couple of similar questions like this on the website that everyone registered on. So just to basically paraphrase how to apply for scholarships and fellowships. Yes.
So whichever one do you want to answer? Maybe we can start with Ifra, given your amazing track record.
I would say I do not have the best answer to this question because almost all of the PhD offers in the US come funded. If you talk about Europe or especially United Kingdom, then I did face issues with finding funding for it, so I switched to US. And I think if you're applying to a PhD program in the US, they come mostly funded. So I'll hand this over to Taiba because she's a master's student. She'd be in a better position to answer that question about funding.
Yeah, Taiba, maybe you can.
Yeah, no, I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think I have the best answer too. I did try, so I'll just be able to tell what were the key observations when I was trying to secure a scholarship. Firstly, that when you are a STEM student and you're applying for master's positions in the US, I think there are very few scholarships that would let you do that. Also, because I think the backstory is that when you're a STEM student, you get a 3-year OPT extension, and most people are able to like pay off their debts. And so, so scholarship agencies expect STEM students to not need scholarships because we are able to repay off our loans and all of that. And but I do have noticed that some universities and some particular states, for instance Texas, they do offer at least like $4,000 or something like that in scholarship. UT Dallas, UT Dallas. Yeah, I think there are a few names, but obviously some departmental scholarships are there. But in my observation, I've seen that UK and the Europe have more scholarships for STEM students, as well as a lot of scholarships for non-STEM students. So US would not be the best place to go for if you're looking for scholarships, because even if they're there, they're very competitive. You do have to try extremely hard, but I guess you can try like different countries for that. Yeah.
Rabia or Mariam, do you want to add to this maybe?
I think I would suggest, because I did spend a lot of time looking for scholarships and I was applying for a PhD in UK, I would suggest that if suppose you have an offer letter or you have somebody that you're already speaking to, you reach out to them and ask them, because they would be in a better position to know the situation in their own country, like how other students who are international, get scholarship or fund themselves. So always reach out to, say, like the coordinator, your program coordinator at university, or or even students coordinator. They're like different positions that you can ask. They have their own, or the professor that you have contacted in the first place. You could always ask them. Second thing is always leave some time before you actually finalize your decision, like a month or something, where you're researching about different scholarships, because there are scholarships, they're just not they may be not, you may be not eligible for it, or they may be not the most famous ones, so they don't pop up on Google the first instant. So you have to research and go through, give time to it. I don't know about the master's program as such because I didn't really apply for it, so I wouldn't know how people fund in the master's program. But for PhD program in UK, the tricky thing is that because of the EU, Brexit, and all of that situation, for them, international students are not only us, but also EU students, like non-UK students. So it is super competitive, and your priority is very as on the lower side of the if you rank them out, you're on the lower side. So in that sense, it's highly competitive. But if you have a good profile, and you've spoken to the professor that you have first contacted with full confidence, then there is always hope, and you should keep trying until you have a better other opportunity. For example, when I received an offer letter from a UK university, I spoke to them and I told them that I don't have scholarship. There's no way I will be able to come and join the program if I don't get a scholarship. And then the professor did help me out, but unfortunately it didn't really shape into anything. And then I told him that there is another offer from the US. Should I go there? And he suggested that I should, because it's just more easier, and your chances are more. You have a lot more chances. But on the other hand, I had another offer where when I said to him that I don't have a scholarship, he somehow got a grant, so he could be able to fund me. But I don't know what the situation at that time was, but I couldn't accept the offer letter from that university. So you should always be open about your financial struggles to the professors or your graduate coordinators, so that they can help you from their side, because they know a lot more than Google can provide you or you can get from Google. That's what I would suggest.
Exactly. Like whenever reaching out to a professor, I would recommend, even for the master students, like if you are planning for a master's and there is not a funded position, you can always write to the professors specifically and they can guide you. So yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Rabia. So Tahir, moving on to, like, maybe we can quickly touch two more questions and then we have to end. So
Yes. There are a couple of questions related to the same topics. I'm gonna club them, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly. Samia Ahmed and one more person whose name is not listed. So this one is for Ifra. In the field of chemistry, if you're looking for a post-graduation position like PhD and not masters, how much experience and research does it matter in your field? And how many internships and other positions do you need to have to be competent enough to get a PhD position? And similarly, this is for Rabia because she is in high energy physics. How much does academic background matter? For example, someone with a CGP less than 8, and how many extracurricular activities do matter in application process? So these two, I have clubbed them together for our two panelists.
okay, maybe Ifra, you can start, and
Yeah.
try to make it short though, because we are really running late on.
Oh yeah. So I think if I read the question correctly, I think the person who was asking this question to me meant whether whether they should prefer doing a postgrad from abroad or whether they should try for a PhD position abroad. So making that decision for yourself is totally up to you. Every opportunity abroad is great. If I'm talking about the US, the school system is highly competitive here, and what was the question? How many internships and research experiences you should have so as to be good enough to apply for a program. So I think there's no definite answer to this question, because the university doesn't list a minimum requirement as to what number of internships or research experiences you should have. But when you apply, your applications go into a pool of applications, and then there's a relative comparison with other applicants. So sometimes, no matter how good your profile is, if the other profiles are stronger than yours, then there's a chance that you may not get selected. I think having a decent number, 1 or 2 or 3 research experiences through your master's degree in India or undergrads, even one is enough if that's a quality project. They want to see, they don't see the numbers of research internships that you've done, rather the quality of work that you are doing. Even if it's one significant paper that you're able to write, one significant article that's making an impact in the academia, in the science, yeah. And I think there has to be a balance between the research, the extracurricular and the co-curricular, your involvement with the outreach division in your university. And they see, so the US application system, and when they shortlist you, they see your overall profile and how motivated you are. So even if you don't have a lot of experiences, you still have a strong motivation to pursue higher education abroad, I think they would still want to consider you, given your passion and motivation towards education.
Yeah, I agree to this. So basically, it's always about your motivation. So even your SOP decides your fate at the end of the day. So even if you don't really have any fancy internship or any fancy research paper in your name, but if your SOP is attractive enough, if it's like convincing enough, then you might get a chance. So, and one more suggestion from my side, I think I would give is like, be consistent, be very patient when applying for the positions. Keep applying, keep applying. It's always about the patience at the end of the day. So Rabia, can you quickly touch on your question, and then we will maybe end the session now.
I think just continuing off from where Ifra and Sadia you left, it's important. For example, I had no internship experience when I had applied for the PhD position here last year, and so the question did come to me that, you know, how should I reflect my seriousness towards academia when my involvement with extracurricular was appreciable. Like I was involved in a lot of extracurricular activities at AMU. So the answer to that would be just like laying it out in your SOP, because that's where you are actually being honest with your with the team, with the committee team. That's what they're going to read, and you're going to tell them through your SOP that this is what I am, and this is how my life in the 5 or 6 years of my university had been. And so what I did was I elaborated my research, the mandated research that I had to do at AMU in my master's, and I elaborated on that. I elaborated my inspiration and my motivation towards doing that research. And you know, I did do a little bit of a summer internship for a month, but I wasn't anything very serious. It was just because I wanted an experience of how research is actually done. So I didn't get any like, oh, you did a research internship, like a validation from any place. I just was voluntarily doing some work under a professor. So sometimes you have to ask the professors within your department that, you know, I want to do research and I'm serious about it. What would you suggest? So so they may suggest you to apply for an internship outside of AMU. They may suggest to do a month of work under them. It's just that the thing is that when you're writing an SOP, they don't really ask you to provide certificates like, hey, show us your certificate, you've done this. So you can always go for a little bit of research experience under your professors at AMU for a month or something, work under them, learn from them, and write it in your SOP and say that this is what I learned, and my motivation was this. You elaborate on the motivation, because everything that you want to say to your admission committee is said through your SOP. And your letter of recommendations do matter, but I don't know how much. You don't really have a lot of control over how your professors write your LOR. So it's always good to be very elaborative in the very little research experience that you have, which for me it was very little. So I went all out and I explained. I wanted to be like, hey, I am very interested, even though I don't really have a lot of things to prove, but I am. So that's the kind of attitude you have to take. And there needs to be a balance, but sometimes you can't really get that balance because you're not exposed to a lot of things. So you always have to find a way around. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay, thank you very much, Rabia. And on that note, we will try to end this event. For all of you, thanks for joining today. It was a really nice discussion, and let's hope we have similar sort of discussions in future also. For others who joined us today, you can always get connected to the SSGSA on various social media websites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. So I'll end today's session. And again, once again,